What's up? What's going on, people? It's the BQF, Black Quarterback Forum, YouTube channel, BlackQBsInEffect.com website. That's BlackQBsInEffect.com website. I created this platform to speak primarily about black quarterbacks, their playing performance. Last year was the first year doing it. I had a partner. This year I'm going solo. My name is Alex Herring, AlexHerring. I am your black quarterback forum. Sole voice that you'll be hearing at this time. I might bring in a partner, might not. But I'm here to talk about the playing performance of black quarterbacks. And I always preface this, the reason I love doing this, because when I was growing up as a kid, we didn't have a whole lot of black quarterbacks, period, plain and simple. And now that we do, that's what I focus on to talk about. I look at the whole NFL, obviously, but I like talking about the play and performance of black quarterbacks because we had 16 starting. The hot 16, as I like to call it, as Luda would say. So, with that being said, sole voice you're gonna hear this year is mine until I maybe bring someone in. But with that being said, you know, I gotta speak for my voice. Last year, I was feeling it out, but this year, no, I'm gonna be raw, dogging it straight. Okay, I'm gonna give you the real here. We're gonna be some f bombs, some GDs. I'm not professional. I'm not on TV. Obviously, I ain't paid by some high. It's just me. I'm got all the high tech fancy shit. Just me. Okay. But what I'm gonna talk about is real. Okay, you can look at it on the field, all that behind the scenes stuff that they talk about and they're breaking the film down and all that. Did they win the fucking game? Okay, that's all that matters. Did they win? If not, then move on. And do you know the saying? If we didn't get them this week, fellas, we'll get them next week. If not this week, next week. So there's a whole lot of next weeks going on. 16 of them, because there's 16 teams that lost. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at this week. And I'm gonna get to the stats of the black quarterbacks and talk about them exclusively. But let's just look at football overall, right? So in Cincinnati, who got upset by the Bengals, led by Jacoby Brissett, who was just holding the spot until Drake May is ready, right? Ain't that what the situation should be? So, from what I heard yesterday, it was just Monday, that over 90% people picked Cincinnati to win in the survivor pool. So they're gone. That's why I don't bet on football. But they were upset. Okay. And so I knew from minute one, Sunday evening, that all the apologists was getting ready to talk about how Cincinnati's going to be okay. All right. And I don't know if y'all saw the interview they did with Jamar Chase in the locker room after the game. And one of the reporters was asking him a couple questions. And then he asked him something to the effect of, well, what are you going to do to get better? How's the team going to get better? And Jamar gave him one of them looks like, I'm open all the time, so I don't know. Maybe they need to throw the ball more to me. But then he told the man, I don't know, go ask Zach. I think he was referring to Zach Taylor, the head coach. So my point here is, with that type of attitude and organization, you think they're gonna go in the Arrowhead and beat that man behind me? Hands cardboard cutout. Yeah. You think that organization sounds dysfunctional, at least from the player standpoint, right? Jamar Chase, he's like, don't. That's just so disrespectful, right? He's just one of these millennials. It's all about me, baby. You ain't throwing me the ball enough. So I don't see how they gonna go in there, Arrowhead, or even beat the Kansas City Chiefs at any point in time this season when it might matter. They might come together, they might coalesce and be a team, and it's the NFL. So as they say, any given Sunday, a team can win. So, but I think most of the betting money gonna be that Kansas City will pull that out. So I just don't see how it's gonna happen, right? They just so dysfunctional from within, and it's just week one. So if they lose and go 0-2, I can't wait for the post for the post game interview with Jamar Chase if they lose, right? And here's the deal: you know that they're gonna try to feed him the ball. So as Kansas City, right? You should be like, okay, we know they're gonna be throwing the ball a lot to Jamar Chase. Let's make sure he's double covered and frustrate him even more. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs, I ain't saying they're going to let this happen, but if somebody else scored a touchdown, as long as Jamar Chase don't score, because we know he can get frustrated. Can you imagine if somebody from the Patriots, even under Gerard Mayo, or even definitely under Belichick, be like, oh no, go ask Bill. That player probably would be benched, might not even be on the team. I don't care how good they. That's just disrespectful. Go ask Zach. It is what it is in Cincinnati. But good luck with y'all team. Next up is the Jets and A run, right? Before the season started, 8 to 12 teams that could make the playoffs. I don't know, Jets, y'all might not be in that 8 to 12. Cause Miami and Buffalo coming out the gate pretty quick. So y'all might be, who knows? But I will say this about the Jets, right? He being Aaron Rodgers, he is right one of the oldest, if not the oldest quarterback in the league, I believe, starting this year. So, and he looked a little slow, right? I mean, it ain't like these defenders are gonna get slower, and if they ain't blocking. But what's even more worse with the Jets, they supposed to have such a stout defense. They gave up 180 yards rushing, and they only had 58 yards themselves. So that's got to turn around real quick, real quick. And I can't recall who they going in. I think they're on the road next week, so it ain't no guaranteed win for them. Nobody, unless you're playing the Raiders or the Panthers, there ain't no guaranteed wins, right? So those are my two teams to pick on, the Raiders and the Panthers. They actually played week 3, people. I can't wait for that game because they're probably going to be 0-2. I'll get to that in a moment. All right, moving on. The Falcons, right? I thought Kirk Cousins, I picked them to win the South, right? I ain't, put them up on no chart or nothing, all that. But I thought going in, they might be the better team. But I can tell you this. I ain't look at Kirk Cousins' stats and all that, but he gonna be hearing the whispers that, hey, we got Michael Penix Jr. over there. He gonna be hearing the whispers. He keep fucking up like that and playing as horrible as he played. Michael Penix Jr. is ready. Now, what's funny to me, right? I heard some analysts talk about that Jacoby. They should play. They should play Drake May next week, and the other was like, "What? What? Jacoby did a great job." And so they hollering to get Drake May in already up there. But yet, if you talk about Michael Penix replacing Kirk, it's like a whole different story. And they're both rookies, right? And they both look good in preseason. So the NFL talk, I think they got it right in Atlanta because if Kirk starts fucking up, not getting the job done, Michael Penix Jr. looks like he's ready. And of course, all these quarterbacks gonna have some growing pains when they're young and they're rookies, right? We saw Caleb Williams. I'm gonna get to his numbers in a minute. Less than 100 yards passing. Jaden Daniels, he did skip to Malou for 2 touchdowns rushing, but nothing passing. And I'll just mention his name, Bo Nix. Seattle wasn't having it. So, yeah, these young rookie quarterbacks going to go through some growing pains. Moving on. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. I live out here in Arizona. I was going back and forth all day online with these people. They got so he making $46 million, people, and he's robbing the NFL. Him along with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is horrible. But Kyler on the black side is robbing the Cardinals. He got one playoff game, and he was terrible in that one. Dude, it wasn't his fault. What? Hey, look, you're the quarterback. You making $46 million. It's your fault. Okay. But what I did not understand with them during the preseason, Kyler didn't play. Here's something funny, right? I was watching the preseason game with the Cardinals, their local team. My wife hadn't be sitting down watching it, and she looked, and she was like, "He on the team? He's small." And she was talking about Kyler Murray. Now, my wife has no idea about sports, but the thing she could point out was how small Kyler Murray was. So, if my wife, who don't care about sports at all, realize he's a small man, small of stature. Don't get me wrong, he's great at playing the quarterback and running around and all that, but he's just small, and it creates problems. All I'm saying, $46 million a year, his ass would have been playing in preseason. Okay? At least a series, if not a whole damn quarter or a half. You ain't got to put him out there to get him hurt, put him in these situations. But how is he going to get a chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr.? Okay? And that young man, his dad, Marvin Harrison Sr., played with Peyton Manning, won a Super Bowl. I'm sure his dad probably told him, just chill, son, he ain't going to act like Ja'Marr Chase. But I'm sure he's frustrated, right? One catch for 4 yards. And there was this play they keep posting online. He was wide open. Kyler Murray didn't see him. I made jokes. Kyler Murray too short. You ain't getting mad at me. All I'm saying, if you're 6'4", you probably saw that guy. Not 5'9.5", 5'10". Just saying, he's a little short. The shortest quarterback to win the Super Bowl, right? You know who that is? Russell Wilson. He was like 5. He barely reached 5'11". So I don't think no more short quarterbacks winning Super Bowl these days. Anyway, I'm just saying they should have played him in preseason, man. How you gonna get a chemistry with your number 1 wide receiver? or number one drafted. Well, not number one overall, but in the first round. How you gonna get a chemistry? They expect that shit to work in week one. Obviously, it didn't. Okay. So now, those are just some of the things I wanted to get out there because I mean, here locally, they talk about Kyler Murray. So a couple other things though. I'm about to get into my black quarterback. There's a couple other teams out there, right? Like that just to me, their quarterback situation is not going to bode well for them. So, all right. So Caleb Williams looked a little suspect, right? He threw for 93 yards. He was 14 for 29. He got sacked 2 times, 29 yards lost, but he had no touchdowns and no interceptions. A QBR of 55.7. Okay, so the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer, right? And they're hoping Caleb. He passed for 93 yards, so he's got 3,907 yards to go the rest of the season. We're going to get to that 4,000 mark. Probably not going to happen as a rookie, but he going to try. And we're going to see what's going to happen. Moving on. How about the Texans and the Colts? Reaching 2 young studs. C.J. Stroud, I like to call him rookie extraordinaire, no more, second-year phenom. Anthony Richardson also, second year. He's come back, stronger, looking better. That was a game. Now, CJ was 24 for 32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. He did get sacked 4 times for 30 yards, but he had a QBR of 115.9, pretty high. And they had Joe Mixon rushing the ball for that $128, I believe, or $158, whatever the hell he had. I'm sure Cincinnati could have used that. And I watched some analysts over the summer talking about, oh, Joe Mixon ain't going to be the same. I'm like, and they talk about how Stephon Diggs is going to be a problem. Well, week one, they gave him the ball. He got 2 touchdowns. He was over on the sideline. He's just an animated person. I don't think he's a team killer like some of these other young wide receivers out there. So I think they're going to be okay in Houston. They got plenty of weapons. I think they're going to be putting up points, rolling 7s on people. And the Colts with Anthony Richardson, he's just going to get better. He threw a couple of bombs. He had people all around him. He wasn't even in the right throwing position. And he threw that ball like 60-plus yards. So I think the Colts will be okay with him. How far they go, who knows? I think they're going to be okay. So, and his numbers were, if I can get him down here, where's my young man Richardson? He was 9 for 19. He didn't throw the ball a lot. 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 2 times for 13 yards. He had a 101.2 QBR. So they're going to be okay. And I think they're going to dominate that AFC South, right? So good luck to the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good luck to y'all teams. Okay? Tua and the track team, as I like to call them. So everybody's open about the arrest of Tyreek Hill. All I got to say is, if you're on your way to the stadium, you get stopped for speeding. All right, I'm apologizing. I'm on my way to the game. Here's my ID. If you got to give me a ticket, so be it. Well, when you resist, when you give them a hard time, you get what you get. So, anyway, the team was traumatized, but they were still able to go out there and get the win. And I guess Tua had the best day of all my AFC quarterbacks. He has 23 for 37, 338 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times for 19-yard loss, but his QBR was 101. That was the best yardage and QBR out of all the black quarterbacks in the AFC. And we got 8 on each side. I'm going to get to the NFC in just a moment. And then there's Bryce Young and Carolina Panthers. And I'm sorry, Carolina, but look, they ain't going to say this on national TV. Bryce Young is the same size as me. I'm 5'10 and a half, barely, technically, I mean, and I weigh 185. He's like 5'11, 185. Okay? When you watch the games with Carolina, if you watch them and you see them in the huddle, if they get in, and he's standing next to 6'2, 6'3, 6'4, 6'5 cats, he looks super small. He looks like somebody's kid brother. Like he belong on the field. And look, Obviously talented enough to make the NFL, but is he really that going to carry a team somewhere to a playoff game, to a winning season? I don't think so. I mean, he too short. And these short quarterbacks, they just these cats in the NFL are behemoths, man. He got 6'4", 6'5", 250, 300 pounds. I'm talking about the lineman, right? And more, right? So you gotta be able to see. Otherwise, you gotta run out, right? Like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray just can't stand back there. On that one play where he couldn't see Marvin Harrison Jr., it's because he was way in the backfield and he just couldn't see. Okay? But if you 6'4", you can stand in the pocket like CJ Stroud, stand tall, and make that throw. So all I'm saying is they ain't gonna never call a man too short. That's just not how they get down on national TV. But that's the deal. He too short. Geno Smith, moving on, gets the win against the rookie quarterback in Denver. Geno wasn't going out like that. Not in Seattle. We ain't gonna let no rookie come in here and beat us. You know what I'm saying? And Geno had some pretty decent numbers too. I think he ran for a touchdown. Yeah. Well, he was 18 for 25, 171, one touch, one interception. He was sacked 2 times for 13 yards. He had a QBR of 81.2. But he did have 4 rushes for 30 yards and that one TD. So, as I've been saying, I don't think Seattle is going to overtake San Fran for that division. Definitely not the Cardinals. The Rams, people like them. So, I don't know. I still think San Fran is the best team in that division without question, right? Everybody agrees. So, I just don't see Geno and them overtaking them. So, moving on. That highest paid NFL player in history, 60 million. Man. And he got the win in Cleveland over, I don't know what to say about Deshaun Watson, right? They beat Cleveland so bad. They got people thinking about should Cleveland give up on Deshaun Watson. I don't know, people. I ain't read enough this week. All I know is it's disappointing. What can you say? And like I said, for that franchise, the way they just ushered in and helped black players in the beginning when the NFL they had a ban. And then when they allowed them back in, how Cleveland was instrumental in just like accepting them. For them to be suffering the way they are right now with the quarterbacks, I'm not even a hardcore Brown fan, but I feel for them. I do. Moving on. Jayden Daniels, like I said, it was all run for him. He had 2 touchdowns running. Let me get the exact numbers. Jayden Daniels, my man, the young buck coming out of. So he was 16 rushes for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 for 24, 184 passing, 0 picks, 0 TDs, sacked 2 times for 33 yards, had a 93.1 QBR. So those are just some of the highlights from week 1. Let me get to the NFC overall best performance. That would have been Jalen Hurts, that Friday game in Sao Paulo, where one of my favorite young black quarterbacks, Jordan Love, got hurt. He's going to be out for, they say, a month to 6 weeks. So we'll see what happens. But Jalen Hurts, 20 for 34, 278, 2 touches, 2 INTs, sacked 2 times for 12 yards, 80.3. So those were Tua and Hurts had the best performances based on their conferences. So Lamar had an amazing game statistically. He was 26 for 41, 273 yards, 1 touch, no interceptions, sacked 1 time for 6 yards, and 90.8 QBR. But he had 16 rushes for 122. So I was like, damn, is he the leading rusher in the NFL? And like I said, no, there's a couple other cats ahead of him, actual running backs. One of them, which is Joe Mixon. So, I mean, look, man, you got to beat that guy. You got to beat him. I don't care what all the talking they do, all the scheming, all the planning. Until you beat him on the field, none of that shit matters, man. None of it. You can cry and complain they was calling our offensive line illegal procedure, whatever. I will say this: they seemed like they did make an example of the Ravens with that. But Zay Flowers wide open in the end zone. You can't miss that, man. And then likely with the toe just over, even if they tied it up, it was no guarantees that they were going to win the game in overtime, right? We know how overtime goes. It can go squirrely, it can go crazy. We saw that in the Sunday night game with the Rams and the Lions, right? So let me just run through some other stats that I think are just totally mind-boggling. Like Patrick, 20 for 28, 291 yards, 1 touch, 1 INT. He was sacked 2 times for minus 10 yards, 101.9 passer rating. My man who got hurt, Jordan Love, it breaks my heart that he got hurt. 17 for 34, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. He was 1 for 5, or excuse me, they sacked him one time for minus 5 yards. He was 83.0 on the rating. Now, Fields, we love to hate. I mean, I can't hate the Steelers because the coach, when I was younger, my beard was all black. We look like each other. I can't hate the Steelers, man. As long as Mike Tomlin's coaching them. The Fields, he didn't turn the ball over. 17 for 23, 156, 0 touches, 0 INTs. Sacked 2 times for minus 23 yards and 91.9 on the rating. So, of course, they going back and forth on the commentary this week. Should Russell start? And I think, yeah, Russ, that's his job, right? He was hurt. They brought him in to be the starter, so let him start. I think they'll be okay. Their defense, uh, I don't know, man. They just keep them in the game. If they get solid quarterback play, it's hard to count the Steelers out, man. They just a well-run organization. 3 coaches in the history of that organization, people. Yeah, my man. The coaches, their names will come to me in a minute. But just Tomlin is just the third, okay? The third. Chuck Noll, and then the other coach in between Noll. It'll come to me in a moment. And my man Tomlin. Just 3. That shows stability, okay? Moving on. Kyler Murray, 21 for 31, 162 yards, 1 touch, 0 INTs. He was sacked 4 times for minus 16 yards. He had a QBR 91.1. I touched on Caleb here a moment ago. He only threw for 93 yards, people. They were kind of, it was suspect, right? He do a lot of off-platform stuff, and they're like, yeah, I ain't gonna work in the NFL all the time. You're gonna have to make some throws from from in the pocket base, not running around. So I get it. I think he will learn. I think they will get that under control. I think we'll see if they're gonna be any good. But he got sacked 2 times for minus 29 yards. Pretty low QBR, 55.7. But that's not the lowest one of the black quarterbacks. I'm gonna get to him in just a moment. Jacoby Brissett, man of the hour, as far as I'm concerned, you go in Cincinnati and beat them. He was 15 for 24, and that wasn't Cincinnati, people. 121 yards, no touches, no INTs. He was sacked 1 time for minus 1 yard, 75.2. As I was saying, CJ Stroud, 24 for 32, 234 yards, 2 touches, no INTs. He was sacked 4 times for minus 30 yards, but he had a 115.9 QBR quarterback rating. I think his was the highest, and it was of all the black QBs. I don't know if it was the highest overall in the NFL. I didn't check every quarterback. But CJ Stroud, I think they're going to be okay. Richardson, as I pointed out a moment ago on his stats, but he rushed for 6 times for 56 yards and a touchdown. So he's a dual threat. Most of these black QBs are dual threats, baby. Okay? That's the difference. And I went over 2 of the stats just a moment ago. Bryce Young, the worst stats. 13 for 30, 161 yards, 0 TDs, 2 INTs. He was sacked 4 times for minus 26 yards, a 32.8. I didn't think quarterback ratings go that low. I thought it might stop at 50. 32.8. Tell you, the kid, man, look, they just need to move on. They're going to do it in a nice, respectful way. However they do it, he can have the most minor injury. And they're going to, oh, he's hurt. I guarantee you. He can have the most minor injury. And they're going to be like, we don't know when he's coming back. So, Geno Smith and the Seattle wasn't letting that young rookie quarterback out of Denver beat them. Geno was 18 for 25, 171 yards, 1 TD, 1 INT, 2 for 13, 2 sacks for minus 13 yards. He had a QBR of 81.2. And like I said, Geno rushed 4 times for 30 yards and a touch. Dak Prescott, the $60 million man, is 19 for 32, 179 yards, 1 touch, 0 INTs. He was sacked 3 times for minus 16 yards. His QBR was 85.3. But that defense put a hurt on Deshaun. I looked at some of the replay. I was like, oh, my goodness. Deshaun was running for his life. He was sacked 6 times. He was running for his life. But the Cowboys, can you do that against San Fran, Philly in the playoffs? That's who you're gonna face. Okay, you're gonna be facing Deshaun Watson, who was 24 for 45. I guess they started throwing when they got behind. 45 times. I think that's the most passes of any quarterback. The black the black QBs. 169 yards, 1 touch, 2 interceptions. Like I said, he was sacked 6 times for minus 32 yards. QBR 51.1. I don't know, Browns fans. I don't know what y'all gonna do, man. I will give y'all credit for having all black quarterbacks. They were talking about they're gonna start Jameis, famous Jameis. You know, Jameis played for both sides, so that's you gotta be careful there. He'd go for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns and 3 INTs. One of them would be a pick six. So he like that point guard in basketball that scored 30 points and have 10 assists and like 10 turnovers. And this man that he guarded will have 30 points too. So it's like I don't know what y'all gonna do in Cleveland. Get it right, because y'all got a good defense. And finally, my man Jaden Daniels, 17 for 24, 184 yards, no touches, no INTs. He was sacked 2 times for 33 yards, QBR of 93.1. And like I said, he rushed for 16 times, 88 yards, and 2 TDs. But the coach said that's not what we want to do around here. We don't want him running the ball that much. So, with that said, that's kind of like my coverage for week 1. There you go. That's the man back there. That's him. So I love what I do, people. I know it's not going to garner a lot of attention, but that's okay, baby, because I love talking about black quarterbacks. The rise of the black quarterback is in full effect. We'll get at you. Week 2 is straight ahead. Good luck to your team.